you glorious gamers out there. This is the PlayersToo podcast, a video game podcast for gamers like you, by gamers like you. You can follow PlayersToo on all the social media at PlayersToo. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all that good stuff at PlayersToo. You can also find our written content over at playerstoo.com. That's playerstoo.com. Welcome to our launch episode and the first part of our E3 special. If you like anything you're about to hear, please head over to iTunes and give us 5 stars. It really does help us out so much, and we'd really appreciate it. Okay, let's get this show on the road. My name is Mark Henderson. With me as always, Mr. Lewis Camley. How's it going, Lewis?
It's going really well, Mark. Super excited for E3 this year, and let's just get started. Let's get talking.
Yes. So I think we should start really with Google Stadia. Now, Google Stadia, not actually technically part of E3, but definitely strategically around E3. We first heard about Stadia, of course, at GDC earlier on in the year, which was Google's big reveal of their streaming service. But what was that, the day before E3? 2 days before E3?
I think 2 days before.
2 days before E3. They came out with a whole bunch of additional information and a couple of game reveals, including Baldur's Gate 3, Ghost Recon Breakout. They announced that The Division 2 was coming to Stadia. They announced that Destiny 2 was coming to Stadia. They also announced a cool little indie game called Guilt, which I thought looked pretty cool from the folks at Tequila Works, and Get Packed, which basically looked like Overcooked, but packing and was wild.
That sounds fun.
Did you see it? Did
I
you
haven't
watch
seen
it?
it. No,
oh my god, man, it was crazy. It did look really fun. I think that is one of these other games where the imprecise controls really contribute to the fun of the game. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's about like coordinating, like moving out of the house or moving to another house or something like that. It looks quite interesting. That comes along with the other games that we already know that are going to be on Google Stadia, which is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Doom Eternal, the Tomb Raider trilogy, Final Fantasy 15, Darksiders Genesis, Metroid Exodus. We now know that Borderlands 3 as well is coming from the recent reveal. Yeah, I think that they're doing a lot of stuff, but the big thing really to come out of this is the price, which is going to be $8.99 a year for a Google Stadia subscription to get their streaming service on all of your devices, and that's for the Pro version, which is 4K 60 frames per second. It seems as if you get games free, similar to an Xbox Games with Gold or a PlayStation Plus subscription. And that is starting with Destiny 2, the collection, which includes everything, including the new Shadowkeep DLC, which I thought was really pretty impressive for $8.99 a month. It looks as if you will have to buy games on top of that. So if you wanted to play, say, I don't know, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, you would also have to buy Assassin's Creed Odyssey on that subscription. It remains to be seen if it will cost the same amount of money as it would to buy digitally on Xbox or PlayStation.
Yeah, to buy it full price,
To buy it full price, exactly. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. But
I suspect what we'll start to see is that these other publishers will put their own subscription platforms into Stadia, so you can essentially access your Ubisoft subscription through Stadia, and that's probably how you'll get most new games. Yeah,
that's interesting.
Which does mean you'll end up paying for 6 subscriptions, say, to play the games that you want to play, but things.
Oh, really? So you think you'll be paying for a Google Stadia subscription and then like an EA Play subscription?
I think
as well?
So. Yeah.
That wouldn't be great, would it?
That is also to say, though, that you can get Google Stadia for free.
Well, that's exactly what I was coming on to. So you can get a free version of it. Well, everyone has a free version of it. I think if you just have a Google account, basically. 1080p, 60 frames per second, which is basically what we've got just now on consoles. Yeah, and they promise us that will work across internets of pretty low speeds, actually. I think that the minimum recommendation is 10 megabits per second, which really is pretty slow by today's standards. I think that's to get 720. Mm-hmm. I think you need, 20 megabits a second?
Yeah, 20 megabits for
1080p, and then was it over 30 to get 4K essentially?
Basically,
I mean, all of this sounds good. I think that the latency factor on the controller is really going to be the big thing here. Are we going to notice that latency when we're playing across a network over the internet? That's just going to be the killing blow for this, because if that is a prominent factor, I mean, there's games like Mortal Kombat 11 coming to this as well. I mean, you cannot afford latency in games like that,
Not one bit.
I really think maybe in something like Assassin's Creed, fine, maybe a wee bit of latency isn't going to kill you, but in the Division 2 it is. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So it's things like that. Like I just don't know how all this is going to work. I mean, the latency would have to be so incredibly low that I really am quite skeptical about how much this is going to work.
I'm glad to hear that skepticism. We've been speaking about this a lot off air and before the show, and I have a lot of doubts and concerns about Stadia, but great to get this kind of level of detail from them at last. Start to see the pricing structures.
Yeah, I have to admit that pricing structure, that is quite a lot less actually than I thought it was going to be. I mean, it's almost half what I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be about £15 a month.
Although that said, you have to, if you want to play it this year in 2019, you have to pay for the, I think what they're calling the Founders Edition.
Founders Edition, yeah. So which is £119, comes with a Chromecast Ultra, a Google Stadia controller, which you can also buy separately for £59, and a copy of, what was it, Destiny 2 and all the expansions as well, and a 3-month subscription.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, it's not crazy money, but
it's not crazy money. See, to be honest with you, it's kind of like they've launched a console for, well, console quotes, for £119. I would say that's pretty damn good for a console, you know?
Yeah, if it works.
If it works. Another good thing that they're bringing with that is a buddy pass, so you can kind of give a shot of Stadium to...
coax your friends into it.
Coax your friends into it, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I thought it was all quite interesting. I still remain very sceptical about how it's going to work. But hey, let's wait and see. Let's not write them off just yet. It is Google after all.
It is Google. They'll probably abandon it by November.
Well, I think they're either going to abandon it quite quickly, or it's going to work and it's going to be glorious, and they're going to throw all their might behind it, and it's just going to be the greatest thing that's ever happened in these PlayStations and Xboxes, and no one will care about any of that anymore. Physical hardware, thing of the past. Don't need it. I think that's the only two outcomes, really. But anyway. On to E3 proper.
Onto E3 proper, yeah.
Well, sort of on E3 proper, because it's EA, and they also kind of didn't do E3 this year. They also didn't hold a traditional press conference for the first time ever. I don't think they've ever.
Not sure.
Anytime they've been at E3, I think they've also always had some form of traditional press conference. And they basically just said, what we're going to talk about is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, Apex Legends, Battlefield 5, FIFA 20, Madden 20, and The Sims 4. Now, that's fine to talk about all those games, but the notable omission there, without a doubt, is Anthem, which only came out in February. A huge flagship title for EA. And apart from Ben Irving, who's one of the higher ups at BioWare, coming out and saying a few words about it and basically saying, yes, we're continuing to support Anthem, and yes, it still has a future. Really glaring omission that they're choosing not to highlight Anthem, and when they are choosing to highlight things like The Sims 4 and Battlefield 5. I just think that's quite telling.
Yeah, it's a worrying sign if you're a player of Anthem, if you've been sticking by it so far. They're either working on something sort of so big and so deep that they're just not prepared to talk about it yet, or they're stepping away from it quietly.
Well, the interesting thing is that their Cataclysm event was announced before E3. They could have just waited a week and announced that at E3 and chose to highlight it and chose to have a spotlight on Anthem during E3. And they chose not to do that. I mean, I wouldn't be feeling great if I was an Anthem player, to be honest with you. I would not be feeling good at all. But anyway, let's just run over a couple of the games quickly. Battlefield 5 looks as if you're getting a lot of maps, and they're continuing to support that, unlike Anthem. So if you're a player of that, great. We're not going to focus on that too much just now, because I don't think a lot of players really are playing a lot of that just now. But if you are, you're getting more content, so good for you. Madden 20, I've played about 20 minutes of Madden in my entire life, despite the fact that I quite like the NFL. Looks as if they're doing a lot more in the playbooks. Looks as if they're giving sort of almost special abilities to certain players to make them true game changers within a match, and to really highlight particular skills that certain players have, which was quite an interesting mechanic. So if you're into that, yeah, go and check it out. It did actually look quite cool. And The Sims 4, I mean, they got this gigantic new expansion pack. I don't know jack shit about The Sims, quite frankly. But what I will say is that the audiences that were there for all these different things, and the audiences obviously changed for each of these tiny little press conferences that they have, a lot of them kind of seemed like almost like canned laughter. It was like clap on cue. Whereas The Sims 4 group seemed like genuinely excited for what was happening, which I thought was quite good. It seems to be some sort of Hawaiian expansion pack where it's all sort of islands and things like that, and you can go like mermaid characters and shit. If that's your jam, good for you.
I suppose that's speaking of their reactions there, it's probably like, for all their other games, you're kind of a general fan maybe of EA or just of games, but if you're going to go to a Sims sort of conference, so to speak, you've got to be into it. You've got to be
pretty dedicated, I would have thought. But anyway, into the big stuff. Star Wars, yes.
So yeah, Jedi Fallen Order.
I thought it looked really good.
We got, what did we get? About 15
minutes gameplay. 15 minutes of gameplay. We already knew that it was coming out on November the 15th, and we had a couple of wee teases, but this is the first proper gameplay that we saw, and it was proper gameplay. It was not live, but it was
a pre-recorded
gameplay session, and I thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I think so. It was pretty strong stuff. Much more of what we kind of thought we were going to see from the game. So it looks from the slice that they gave us to be quite linear, quite action focused, a kind of blend of action and traversal stuff. Not 100 miles away from the kind of Uncharted version of Star Wars that's been bandied around over the last few years.
Well, that was it. Amy Hennig's studio, Visceral Games, was shut down by EA. Was it last year or the year before?
Probably it must be 2 years ago now.
Maybe, was it?
Yeah.
Oh man, time is so it goes so quickly in the video game world. But anyway, but the thing that they were supposed to be developing, being Amy Hennig, was supposed to be an Uncharted style Star Wars game. But it seems as if we're getting an Uncharted style Star Wars game with sort of Dark Souls-esque combat, and I could have thought that's what Amy Hennig was doing. So I don't know, what's the situation there?
Yeah, it does leave some questions unresolved, absolutely. And I think, Amy Hennig, when she heard what kind of game Fallen Order was going to be a couple of months ago, did make a comment about it, about how strange it seemed. But this is, let's just focus in on the game. I think it looks pretty fun. What you mentioned there, Dark Souls, there's definitely a kind of element of that, and sort of like Sekiro's combat systems, this kind of I think they were referring to it as intelligent combat or something like that during the conference. Can't remember the phrase they used now,
but it was kind of like deliberate combat.
Yeah,
like you weren't just going and flinging your lightsaber about randomly. It was very deliberate movements, deliberate swings, perfect parries, that kind of thing that you were going for.
Absolutely, like versus the old versions of Star Wars tie-in games when the prequel trilogy was coming out, which were huge kind of action combo-based combat inputs, and this game just looks so different to that. It looks so much more sort of interesting, the way that you interact with the environments and the characters, the kinds of battles and the strategies that you're going to use there. The force powers looked really fun, and I think one of the most interesting things that's coming out of it all really is the things that we haven't seen. So a lot of the chat was that the people in attendance at E3, or certainly the press, got a longer and extended cut of that demo, which showed how non-linear the game can be, and that it's not just following this direct path all the time.
Well, I actually listened to a Game Informer podcast who did like a kind of short deep dive on it, and they actually mentioned that Metroid Prime was a huge influence on the gameplay, or on the flow of the game, shall we say, and that you could find a door somewhere that you can't get through, but then when you get additional powers, I don't know, force powers, or like an upgrade, maybe 3 worlds later, then you can go back to that world, and then that opens up a whole other thing for you. Which I thought was very interesting. I thought it was very kind of looking back to move forward.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was just quite interesting.
And we saw that work really well in God of War last year as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So very, very similar sort of thing, I think.
So if they can pull those two things off, I mean, to draw comparisons already with Metroid, with Dark Souls, with God of War, I mean...
Well, yeah, I would have thought so. I mean, you're keeping good company. Let's say that. Obviously, as well, as made by Respawn. Respawn's other game, Apex Legends, also got a huge spotlight. They're getting Season 2. I was big into Apex when it first came out. I also bought Season 1, but kind of fell away from it at that point. I think a lot of people never thought that the content was that great, to be honest with you. Although I didn't mind paying, I think it was like £9 or something like that. I can't really remember. But for the amount of hours that I put into that game, it was definitely... Respawn definitely deserved my £9 for all that. But we're getting new daily challenges, new weekly challenges. There's a reduced time to complete the battle pass, which was also a big thing, because I felt as if I'd played the battle pass for like quite a while, and I was at level 25 or something like that, and I was like, I'm never getting to level 100. Like, other games were coming out, there was other stuff that I wanted to play, and I was just like, there is no chance of me getting there. So that's also good to hear. There's new and much cooler skins coming out, which again was another thing, like the aesthetics of it. There was a lot of kind of palette swap stuff happening, and I was just kind of like, none of this is like new or exciting or fun, as opposed to Fortnite, which at the time had people running about in banana suits and things. You know what I mean? There was nothing like that happening in Apex, which I think it was missing a wee bit, although it was trying to kind of take itself a bit more seriously than Fortnite obviously is. But there was just no fun, there was no excitement in a lot of the legendary skins and things like that. So I thought they looked better, I thought they looked cooler. And there's also this new Elite queue coming, which if you finish in the top 5 of a match, you get put in a queue with all the other top 5 finishers. Oh wow! So which I think gives you additional XP and things like that. So it also puts you into like an elite match. So it's kind of like the best of the best. Yeah, well that's good for fresher players as well that don't know their way around it so much, because you won't be up against these absolute titans. Well, you might be not up against them as often. Yeah. If they're being segregated somewhere else, then it's better for the dweebs like us. Hey, speak for yourself. I was fucking good at it. They've also got a new gun coming out, which is called the L-Star Energy machine gun, which is apparently a favourite from Titanfall 2. I never played Titanfall 2 very much, but Alan kind of got into during Apex, but apparently there's a big deal for them. So
Good
fair
stuff,
play.
yeah.
It's good to hear. And the biggest news, of course, is that there is a new character called Watson, whose tactical seems to be to put up these electric fences everywhere, which only your team can walk through. And if one of the enemy team walks through it, it does a bit of damage and also like disorientates them, and they can't see and they can't move as fast, which is pretty cool. And our ultimate is to like boost your shields and things like that of your team round about you. And it looks as if it adds a different dynamic. It looks as if you can play the game kind of more defensively, more strategically if you want it to, rather than it kind of just devolving down into players like Bangalore and Wraith, who are just like constantly like firing, and it's just kind of like who can shoot one another the fastest, who can get into a situation the fastest where they have a sort of positional advantage and then just finish you off kind of thing. It looks as if you can be more strategic with Watson, and to be honest with you, it kind of makes me want to get back into it, which I suppose is the point in the season pass system, is that it brings old players back in. And yeah, I thought it looked good.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I think it sounds like a lot of Apex players are talking about jumping back in after it sort of sagged a little bit. And I think just to look back to what you were saying there about Fortnite really briefly, it's just interesting that Respawn themselves sort of said that they were never going to attempt to do that kind of Epic style constant updates, weekly, new things being added to the game, because they just couldn't sustain it.
Well, apparently they are. They're putting in daily challenges and weekly challenges.
Yeah,
so
but
they are coming back around.
Well, let's hope that it doesn't lead to that kind of level of crunch then that we've recently heard that Epic have been suffering from.
Well, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
We definitely like to hope that. Obviously, no one wants to see anybody crippled by crunch, and you definitely don't want to see that at Epic and Fortnite or anywhere really. But yeah, an interesting thing that that's kind of coming out of this is that I feel that EA right now really is just Respawn and EA Sports, and I feel like that's not a really great position for EA to be in, because the other game that I just want to briefly talk about is FIFA 20, and the fact that they're getting this FIFA Street mode, which I thought was really, really cool. Like, FIFA Street was maybe one of the most interesting things FIFA's done ever, as opposed to just this iterative progress into a microtransaction machine, And I don't know, I just thought it was really cool. I also thought it was cool that you could play with like mixed male and female teams as well. Obviously, just now there's been a huge surge in interest in women's football in general, and particularly now because the Women's World Cup's on, it's starting to get a lot of kind of TV time. Just yesterday, the England-Scotland game broke the UK record or something like that for a football game watched in ages. It was like 6.1 million viewers or something like that. It was huge. It was absolutely huge. Scotland lost. It was very disappointing, but it was closer than I thought it was going to be, because England were one of the favourites. But yeah, anyway, I just thought it was cool. I thought FIFA was worth mentioning. Obviously, it's an absolutely enormous game in this part of the world. I just thought it was cool that they're doing something different, doing something interesting,
bringing back a classic mode that we used to love as kids, and I'm sure a lot of younger players now.
I think going back to those games, they were probably dreadful games.
Absolutely,
but at the time they seemed quite good.
Yeah, and I'm sure
the FIFA Street. I think was it FIFA Street 2. Yeah, we played a lot of. Like, it was good fun. Like, it was
and I'm sure they can do it even better now. It does feel like a way that they can sell new skins and cosmetic items to players in a way that they can't do with the normal base game. But it's all, like, it looks fun, so we should give them that at least.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, just to reiterate as well, I just think EA is in a very tenuous position right now.
Yeah,
because obviously the other big studio, BioWare, has frankly shot the bed.
Well, that's it. It's like mad to say that they are just respawning EA Sports when they've got BioWare, which is one of the biggest dev studios in the world, making absolutely killer games now.
No, I know it's brutal, but yeah, Respawn are killing it. As far as I'm concerned, Respawn are absolutely killing it just now. Anyway, shall we go for a wee break, get a beer, come back?
Microsoft.
And we are back with Microsoft. The true start of E3, Lewis, the true start of E3 is, in fact, the Microsoft conference. Now, Microsoft covered a lot. It was a long, long conference. Partially because Sony probably wasn't here this year. They had to fill some time somewhere, didn't they? So, but anyway, just a brief recap of some of the smaller titles, I would say, that were shown off. Starting things off with the Blair Witch game. Yes, that Blair Witch from all that time ago, made by the Layers of Fear team. To be honest with you, we got to see a good bit of gameplay. It looked pretty spooky. It was just you and a flashlight. That all looked quite interesting.
I was quite impressed by it.
Yeah, actually, when it came up and said it was Blair Witch right at the end, I was like, what?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be New Evil Within, but then like the logo came up. So.
Yeah, it was quite strange when that came up, but honestly, it looked quite interesting. If you're interested, go and look it up. Battletoads got revealed. Honestly, I think that game looks garbage, I really don't know why people are excited about it at all, but it does seem to have some sort of fan base. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, an RPG following Goku in the DBZ years. I was very excited about this because this was the time where I was very into Dragon Ball, so I will be totally buying that if it's any good.
Third-person action RPG as well.
Third-person action RPG.
Which just, like, that's the kind of game that I think we've been missing for a while from that Dragon Ball franchise after the amazing Dragon Ball FighterZ.
Fighters or Fighters Z, however they want you to pronounce it, yeah. But historically, the third-person Dragon Ball games have not been very good. But I remain hopeful.
Good stuff.
Dying Light 2, got to see more of that. It's really not my sort of game. I'm not really sure how you feel about it.
I thought what we've seen of this before was way more interesting.
I thought that too.
Yeah.
Like the last time they were talking about all these different systems and things like that they had in, I don't know, different areas and things that you had to do and different decisions that you made that like really like granularly affected how the story was being told and things like that, which was quite interesting. But that trailer just looked like zombies and that.
Yeah, this was much more of just a story trailer, and it made me kind of go, which is not what you want.
No, it's definitely not. Next up, Forza Horizon 4 Lego Speed Championship expansion, which is mad,
completely bizarre. That this
it was absolutely bizarre. So this is Forza with Lego cars and Lego tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, they did do a Hot Wheels expansion last time round, but this one just looks way crazier.
So just clarify to me, right? Forza Horizon,
Forza Horizon is the more arcadey one. Forza Motorsport is the Gran Turismo.
Okay,
of the series.
The one that was set in Britain, that's
Forza Horizon 4. Yes,
that is Forza Horizon 4.
That's Forza Horizon 4.
Oh, I didn't realise that was the arcadey one. Oh, okay. Well, that just seems.
I mean, it's still mental but it's still crazy.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it's no less crazy.
Cool.
Next up, Outer Worlds. This from Obsidian, which was bought by Xbox last E3. It was announced, wasn't it? Yeah. Last E3. But Outer Worlds was already well into production with Private Division, which is a subsidiary of Take-Two, and the game continues to look great. It looks like mad 80s Fallout. It looks really cool. I think it looks really good. You should all go and check out the trailer. Looks excellent.
Only 4 months away. Looking good.
Oh yeah, what was the release date on that?
October 25th.
Nice. Yep. Next up, Minecraft Dungeons, a new action-adventure game set in the Minecraft universe. This was, again, quite bizarre. Yeah. I was never into Minecraft, but I know a hell of a lot of people are into Minecraft. Yeah, it looked quite cool.
It did look fun, I thought, yeah. I'm not a Minecraft guy either.
No, I'm definitely not, but it looked quite cool. You should, again, go and check out the reveal. It was pretty cool. Wastelanders 3 was announced. Again, not big into the Wastelanders games. From developer Deep Silver. It looked fine. It's really not my thing,
I didn't
man.
like
to be
that
honest
trailer
with you.
at all.
I know.
I thought it looked like it was trying to have that kind of Outer Wildsy, Fallout-y humour about it, and it just really fell flat to me.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Got a bad reaction to it.
I always feel as if generally falls flat at these things. Anyway, and then we got to see a wee bit more Borderlands 3, but the bigger announcement was that Borderlands 2 was getting new DLC coming for free, and Borderlands 2 itself with the Handsome Jack collection, which includes the pre-sequel. That's right, I'm trying to get all these words correct. Is currently free also on PlayStation Plus right now, so you will get that free DLC free on PlayStation Plus right now as well. So you should all go and do that. It means you don't need to buy the game. You get some more Borderlands 2 to play before Borderlands 3 comes out. And the last thing I just wanted to mention was State of Decay 2 Heartland, which is State of Decay 2's biggest update ever, which includes 2 paths and a new mission. Is that correct?
I think a whole new kind of story strand. So,
all right, okay.
Yeah, just like interesting stuff. If you were playing State of Decay 2 last year and enjoying it.
Yeah, I really wonder how many people are still playing State of Decay 2, honestly. Anyway, let's get into the big boys. Okay, first thing I wanted to mention was Bleeding Edge. This is from Ninja Theory, famous for Hellblade, which me and you both loved last year. Last year, wasn't it? The year before, maybe?
Tail end of 2017, I think.
Was it tail end of 2017? God almighty, man. It felt like only yesterday. No, we both absolutely loved Hellblade. But this time, different direction for Ninja Theory. Bleeding Edge seems to be a 4v4 online PvP 3D Smash-esque melee game. Try saying that. I fucking dare you.
A lot of acronyms there.
Definitely was. But yeah, so it seems to be a sort of tiny little battle royale.
Yeah, well,
squad-based battle royale.
Yeah, well, they never actually used the phrase battle royale, but that is definitely what it looks like, and it's got.
I don't know. Can it be called a battle royale if it's teams? Dunno,
well, just the
how
kind of
does that work?
squads mode of
Squad
those
and Battle
games, I
Royale?
suppose. Yeah. It's not for me, I don't think. It should be said that Ninja Theory said that they were working on a whole bunch of different things since Microsoft bought up the studio, which was announced last E3. But this had been in development for a while already. So I think, because I've seen a lot of people kind of going, oh, we really liked first player stuff from Ninja Theory, like
Well,
with Hellblade.
I'm one of those people.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I have to say, so last year at the same time as Obsidian, it was also announced that Xbox had bought Ninja Theory, which obviously means that they weren't going to be on PlayStation anymore. So, Lewis, as the world's biggest PlayStation fan,
Do I get that mantle now?
well, I mean,
am I the boy?
I mean, you're like in the 1%, I would say. Like, I mean, are you disappointed to be missing out on this game?
I'm not disappointed to be missing out on this game, no. I'm disappointed to be missing out on whatever else.
The potential for more Ninja Theory type games.
This just doesn't look like my vibe. I was kind of saying earlier that it looks to me a bit like the kind of art style of like Fortnite or Overwatch, that kind of stuff, maybe with something of the gameplay of a like For Honor, but maybe not quite as tough as that. So yeah, it's not something that I could imagine myself playing that often, but yeah, I think it's worth.
I mean, I must
keeping an
admit,
eye
if it
on.
were on PlayStation and it were readily available to me, although I suppose this will probably be coming to PC as well, so I could play it on that. I guess. I mean, I would give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's going to be free to play, isn't it? So,
well, I'm not sure they said that either, but it's playable at E3 now, and I think there was a sort of suggestion that there might be a beta coming. So it's definitely something we're going to see more of.
So
in the
they've
next
not
few
confirmed
days.
it's free to play.
I don't, not that I remember from the show. We need to double check that. But
If that's anything other than free to play, I will be stunned.
it probably will be. Let's assume it will be. But
Yeah, definitely will be. If it was free to play, I would definitely jump in.
Yeah.
Anyway, a game that I'm disappointed to be missing out on because I'm on PlayStation is Ori and the Will of the Wisps, which every time they show that game, I just think that looks amazing and something that I want to play, which makes me really want to go back and play Ori and the Blind Forest. Now, pre-E3, one of my big predictions was that Ori and the Will of the Wisps would also launch on Switch at the same time it launched on X-Pass, and it might be, X-Pass, Games Pass, and I thought that this might lead into Games Pass being on Switch. However, there was no mention of that at all, which I was a bit disappointed about. There is hope yet still at Nintendo's press conference, but I've never maybe seen more of a Switch game. It is like so a Switch game. They should really, really, really release it on Switch, apart from anything else, because I want to play it.
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible bit of footage we got in the trailer. It just looks
The animation
gorgeous.
is absolutely beautiful.
It's,
Absolutely beautiful.
it's a style that you've not really seen before, and yeah, I really hope it comes to Switch too, or maybe we'll get it on Stadia or whatever down the line as well. So.
Yeah, another indie as well that they gave a good bit of time to, I would say, was 12 minutes. I know you're particularly excited about this one.
Yeah, I mean, up to that point, and maybe even still, it's been my favourite thing at E3 so far.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Well,
like certainly.
Well, considering the game I'm about to talk about next, I'm not sure about that.
Well, yeah, like we only got like just a couple of minutes long little trailer for this. It's not clear what kind of gameplay it's going to be, but what we saw in the trailer was a kind of top-down living room scene of a couple having a discussion, and the guy saying
It was like a plan, almost looked like an engineering plan of a building or a room.
Exactly,
even,
yeah. And so we just got this interaction between them where the presumably the husband or the partner says, well, this has all happened before, and there's a man coming and he's going to hurt us, and she's totally perplexed. And then we just got these really amazing kind of cuts between what looks to be a sort of time loop game where the same scenario will continue to play out and you're trying to change the outcome. And just the style of it was really interesting. The dialogue was, I mean, it felt tense even within a couple of minutes demo. And if it wasn't gameplay, it's hard to tell if it's even in engine. So if it maintains that top-down look, I think it could be something really quite interesting. If it ends up being much more of just a normal first-person, action game, or whatever, maybe less so. But from what we saw of it, I was really impressed.
This is what I love about indies and things like that, is that they just have so much scope to express themselves. You know what I mean? They don't have to be tied into one very specific thing, which they know is going to sell very well because
or their economies or all that sort of stuff. They don't have to explain
They don't
anything.
even worry about that. It just looked like a really, really interesting game. One to keep an eye on, basically, going forward. Now, can you honestly tell me that you're more excited about 12 minutes than you are about Cyberpunk? Because god damn, that game looks good. It looks so good. Again, we've seen no gameplay. Well, no, that's not true. We saw gameplay the last E3, but we've seen no new gameplay. But we got a really, really cool trailer, and more importantly, we got a fucking release date, which is the 16th of April next year, which is sooner than I thought.
Oh, really?
I'm
Yeah.
going to be straight with you. I thought it was going to be a Christmas thing next year.
Oh, wow.
So that's a good 6 months earlier than I thought it was going to be. And Keanu Reeves is in it completely randomly. Kind of blew my mind. But
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that was weird.
I can't help but feel he might be the first of many little guest appearances.
Oh yeah, you think we're going a Kojima route here?
Yeah,
all the all the stars.
I think AAA video games are kind of going to go that way.
Oh, yeah?
There was a really interesting, this is a bit of a sidetrack, but an interesting thing the other day where the person who played Quiet in Metal Gear 5 said that she had been asked to be in Death Stranding originally and got replaced by Lea Seydoux without being told. And so just to go back to the Keanu Reeves, it does seem like there'll be parts like that used to be played by kind of character actors in video games who will now be played by major stars.
Wow.
So, but anyway, on Cyberpunk, I am excited about that and just not super overexcited about it because we've seen a bit of it and it's hyper video game. It's AAA video game out your ears.
Yeah,
and I've seen that before.
God, so. It looks good.
Yeah.
It looks so good. I'm so game for it. Like everything about it, that world, the cyberpunk element of it. Like I'm much more a kind of sci-fi guy than I'm sort of high fantasy guy. You know what I mean? Like all of it was speaking to me. Speaking of high fantasy, Elden Ring. Oh man, that's the kind of quality segues you can expect here at PlayersToo, by the way. That was golden. So Elden Ring, this is the crossover between Dark Souls legend Miyazaki and George R.R. Martin, the Game of Thrones man.
Yeah.
I mean, and we got a really cool looking trailer. No gameplay, obviously, because I think it's probably pretty early days.
I'd imagine so, yeah.
But God, that looked really interesting as well.
Crazy stuff, yeah.
What was it you were saying? It was like Lord of the Rings on acid.
Yeah,
or something
it looks like someone. If you think of Game of Thrones as being like George R.R. Martin's version of a kind of historical epic with some kind of high fantasy elements, this looks so much like he just went, I want to do something set in a fantasy universe where there's all sorts of crazy monsters, stuff exploding. There is a ring that seems to be at the core of it all. It's like he just got an idea for Lord of the Rings, but hyper violent, and said, Miyazaki, I want to make something completely batshit mental with you. And yeah, we're going to get this. We're probably never going to get The Winds of Winter as a result. But
yeah, I know. A lot of people have kind of come back at him and been like, wait, what the fuck are you doing that? Where's the books, mate? Where's the books?
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, I thought it looked really cool. I'm much more excited about that than I am about his books. So
yeah, go and check out the trailer. It's only like a minute or two long and just looks like the setting for something really interesting.
It does. It really does. It really does. Okay, let's get into the big boys, the real big boys. Gears 5. Now, the trailer for this was very weird. It started off with a head that was kind of going a bit crazy, and she's obviously been some sort of a hybrid with the baddies.
Yeah.
And no gameplay, but then we got a kind of longer trailer as well that was more actiony.
But that was for a mode as well.
Yeah, and that was for a mode. God, yeah, I forgot about that.
So this
game comes out in September, is that right?
September 10th, yeah, it comes out.
Right. I think it's borderline negligent not to show gameplay at this point at E3. Showing that game off at E3 and not showing any gameplay. If I were a big Xbox fan and I was a big Gears of War fan, I would be worried about that game.
Yeah. One of the things that they did do, they kind of explained what their roadmap is for the publicity of this game, which is quite unusual. But they basically said that in July there'll be a sort of look into the tech and the multiplayer side of the game. Then in August at Gamescom, they're going to look at something called Horde Mode. And then in September, they're going to reveal more about the campaign. Now game's coming out in September 10th, so in September, i.e. a week before, you're going to start talking about the main solo campaign, which again rings alarm bells to me a bit, like they're not super confident in what they've got.
I don't know, man. Like, I don't know how to feel about that, because I mean, it can, in a way it makes sense. Like, you're hitting the other big, like the European gaming convention. You're obviously wanting to do this huge marketing rollout as well. In a way that does make sense, but do I want to only be learning about the main story a week before the game comes out? And I mean, if that misses the mark, then I mean, you're going to be ending on a sour note immediately into the game's launch.
Absolutely, yeah.
Man, I think that's risky business right there, I'd say.
Speaking of, like,
that is risky business.
The ways that they might be risking things with Gears, just really quickly, they revealed right at the end of that video package, I think it's a new 3v3 mode called Escape, or whether or not it's actually tied to that, but basically the Terminator is going to be in the game.
Oh yeah, that was weird as well.
That was weird. And then later on in the show...
That was so weird, and kind of right at the end, and like I've kind of almost blanked that from my memory.
Yeah.
It was so weird.
Well, that's interesting, because then later on they revealed a little bit more about Gears Pop, which they also talked about at last year's E3, and this is just for
my God,
iOS
I'll never forget that. Last year's E3 is it said they're going to show off Gears of War, and the first thing that they showed off was one of those wee Funko Pops coming out, and the crowd audibly groaned.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder, that's going to be a mobile game, but with gimmicks like that starting to creep in, you've got your Funko Pop version, you've got guest stars like Terminator coming in. When is it going to be a Lego version?
Yeah.
Is this becoming the kind of more jokey franchise where Halo is still their big
the more
number
jokey
one?
franchise?
When you start introducing gimmicks like that, it starts. You'd never see a Last of Us Funko Pop version. You just never see that.
No, you probably wouldn't. I would say that. I wouldn't say the funny version or whatever it was.
Well, just like
the less serious version,
like
perhaps.
It seems to me like Halo is the...
Well, Halo is the bastion of glory.
Yeah.
Halo can do no... Well, Halo has definitely done wrong in the past, but that's how the Xbox player base would love to perceive Halo. And Halo was absolutely great. It was a totally groundbreaking game. It deserves its mantle.
Yeah, like so it's still the prestige game, but it just seems to me like maybe Gears isn't quite that. Anyway.
Speaking of Halo, so also we got to see a trailer for Halo Infinite, which again was a bit of a weird trailer. I don't know, like there was also no gameplay again. Well, we also learned that it's not coming out until the holidays 2020. So again, we're probably fairly early days, but that's going to have to knock it out of the park. But again, it was just a bit of a weak trailer.
It felt to me like it
felt as if they had to show something. It felt as if they had to show it, and they just put together this trailer to kind of explain a wee bit of lore. Obviously, some Master Chief is obviously found floating about in space. Some guy turns him back online. Then the Halo's shown all broken up, and it's implying the guy who turned them back on was saying, "Oh yeah, we lost. It's all bad things have happened." Master Chief, and then Master Chief's response is, "Let's go shoot things."
Yeah,
and it was kind of like, okay,
it felt very much like a slice from the opening cinematic in the game, basically, which is maybe not much further ahead than of what they can show us anyway.
Yeah, I don't know. It just felt. Like, like it didn't really feel as if it had to be there. You know what I mean?
I think the only reason that it did have to be there is because they also told us that it is going to launch Project Scarlet. So this is Xbox's next generation console, which I feel as if they spoke a lot about and said very little. They had this whole big presentation. It was various people that were obviously involved in the project talking about it. Some of the things that did come out of it were that it was a custom AMD processor that can support up to 120 frames per second. It can support 8K. It can support ray tracing. It's got an SSD drive. It was all kind of very technically focused as well. But then something they also mentioned before that was that xCloud and cloud gaming could be used from your Xbox One, and they could turn that into a server. And then they were saying, but you can play, and then that means that you can play your games wherever you want. But I was like, but how? If I have to be using, do I need to be next to my Xbox? Because it's got to be on.
Is it got to be on, and then I can play them remotely? So it's just remote play then? Is that really just what it was? Because that was all very unclear.
So they basically said with their cloud system, they said there's two ways to play. There's Project xCloud, which I suspect will be more like Stadia's kind of offering, and then there's console streaming, which I think is what you would describe as remote play. So they're going to be a public hands-on pretty soon, and they basically said that the console streaming will turn your Xbox into a streaming unit. But yeah, like you say, Christ knows what that means. I think you're probably right that sounds to me like remote play. So you can.
It's just. I mean. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's true remote play, because true remote play probably is the game running on the Xbox. But they're implying cloud processing, so I don't know. Like maybe they just need the Xbox to be on to confirm that you own the game, and then you can. Like the point is that was. I mean, that is all speculation. They never said any of that.
No,
that was very unclear. That was a very murky message that they didn't need. Yeah. They had to come out of the gates like very clear with this and what we're doing, and this is the future, and here we are. You know, particularly with PlayStation not being there, I thought it was very important that they came out and were super clear about their message and what they were going to do and why next generation is going to be great. And they never really said anything else. They never really did anything more.
No.
And PlayStation had previously kind of not leaked, but they had a kind of weird interview with Wired where they talked about their hardware for the next gen as well, and it was all very similar.
Yeah,
and in fact, I actually read something today that said that the PS5 initially looks as if it could be more powerful than the Xbox.
Yeah,
which I mean is kind of unheard of, because it's like the most powerful console has been Xbox's mantra for a while now. And I don't know, it just all seemed it all seemed quite unclear. It all seemed like a lot of buzzwords and a lot of like, yeah, this is the future, and 8K and ray tracing and SSD drives, and it's going to be so much faster load times, and you know what I mean? It was just they never really said anything. They never really gave any new details. I mean, I suppose the process and all that's new, but I mean, nobody really cares there. Do you know what I mean? It's all very technical facing stuff.
Yeah, it's not necessarily.
Just give me something more. You know?
Yeah, your E3 conference isn't necessarily the place for that kind of in-depth technical side of things.
No, it's definitely not.
And it does feel like PlayStation got out there ahead of them with the same message, effectively.
Yeah, kind of
more clarity.
Yeah, and I suppose the most important thing that came out of that is that it's going to be coming holidays 2020. So it's coming out next year. The new generation is confirmed to be next year, at least from Xbox.
Yeah.
And I mean, PlayStation have to follow suit. They simply
It'll
do.
be there or thereabouts.
They simply do.
What do you think the fact that they were still, and even in the final slide of that whole presentation about Project Scarlet, they are still calling it Project Scarlet at the moment? Do you think it's going to stay called that?
Nah, it won't be. It was like what was it called? Scorpio, and then the PlayStation one was called. It was I can't remember what it was called.
They don't need to bother.
Yeah,
really,
it's not. Like, the point is that they've not decided. Yeah, exactly. I don't know why PlayStation. It's just PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know why they're bothering, but yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. It doesn't matter. They just don't want to reveal the name yet. You know, maybe it is. Maybe it's going to be called Xbox Scarlet. I mean, it wouldn't be any crapper than any of their most recent attempts. Okay, let's move on to Bethesda, the final one today anyway. Okay, so there was a load of Elder Scrolls stuff. There was stuff about Elder Scrolls Blades, Online, Legends. I suppose the biggest news that probably came out of that, for me anyway, was that Elder Scrolls Blades is going to be coming to Switch for free, which, I mean, if you're into that, fair play to you. It's going to be cross-play as well. Thought that was quite cool. If you're into any of that, go and check it out. None of us are interested in that. I'm sorry, but we're not. Rage 2 is getting new DLC called Rise of the Ghost. It's getting new cheat codes, vehicles, modifiers, game modes, still getting supported. Only came out, a few weeks ago? Was it even a month ago now?
It was in May, wasn't it? I think. Yeah.
God, my sense of time is just gone just now. Anyway, it never came out to the hottest reception, but a lot of people did actually like it. It's definitely found
players are finding fun with it.
It's found the niche. Got another wee look at Wolfenstein Cyberpilot, the VR game, which, I mean, looked fairly interesting. It didn't look like the greatest VR game in the world, if I'm totally honest with you. Be interesting to see how much that cost, because it didn't look very full price. And they also announced their own weird streaming thing called Orion, which again was very software and technically focused. It seemed to be running almost parallel with Stadia and xCloud, and not as like an additional service, not as like a competitor to those things. And they seem to think that it could work with any and all game engines. I'm not going to lie to you. Again, the message was quite unclear. I didn't fully understand what they were talking about at all.
It felt like really bold claims on the speed and on the price to me. They were kind of making out like it would make games cheaper to develop and therefore cheaper for players, and that the speeds that it could create or like get your games down to, the load speeds and all that kind of stuff. It was just language that they were using. I was kind of like, there's surely no way you can actually achieve that.
Is it any more far-fetched than Stadia's claims? Well, you know,
and that's owned by Google, and I can imagine that they can support it. You know,
no, that is a fair point. That is a fair point. I suppose the only other thing to mention before we get into the big announcements is that Todd Howard mentioned that they are still working on Elder Scrolls 6 and Starfield, both of which we saw last year at E3, but it was basically just a title, wasn't it? I mean, it was nothing at all, but nothing more here. Which, I mean, I think they'd basically come out and said that before the conference, but I think it was probably disappointing to quite a few people. Okay, onwards to Fallout 76. Oh dear. So I think, a terrible. I was going to be nice, but it was a terrible launch. It was one of the worst launches of a video game that I can actually remember.
Yeah, until Anthem.
But to be fair, they came out. Todd Howard came out and took it on the chin. And unlike EA with Anthem, who just decided not to bother talking about it, they came out. They acknowledged it. They said that they got some well-deserved criticism. I think that's putting it a bit lightly.
Yeah.
But
it was definitely the focus of their whole kind of conference setup, even the kind of pre-recorded, just the kind of like hype stuff right at the beginning where they were talking to different fans. It was all focused on, you've been telling us what you think and we've really been listening to what you think. And they really wanted to make it clear, like, everything is about the player. Please, God, forgive us for what we've done.
Well, I don't know. They've had a lot of success in the past. They've obviously got a good fan base. I think maybe we just let them off with this one. We were like, okay, you fucked that and you fucked that real bad, but just do something better now. But anyway, they're continuing to support it. Year 2, The Wastelanders, new DLC coming out this year with human NPCs and full dialogue trees like a Fallout game should have at launch. And they also announced, weirdly, that they're having a 52-person Battle Royale mode with nukes and PvE elements, which I didn't feel great about that particular bit. Felt as if I felt a bit bandwagony. But the NPCs, the DLC, dialogue trees, all the things that you would expect from a Fallout game. I'm glad that they're kind of putting that in now, you know?
Yeah, and they're really trying to get people back on board. So they said that there's going to be a free trial of the whole game for anyone to play from tomorrow, which is now today as we record. And it's also that whole expansion, the Wastelanders update, is going to be free for anyone who has Fallout 76 already, which is great.
And the Battle Royale is free as well. So this is all free.
Yeah,
this is all free. No one's paying for any of it.
Yeah, so both free to try it all this week. So if you've got any interest in playing a bit of Fallout 76, coming back to it, if you played it before, now's the time. I wrote a little bet to myself earlier that you will go back to it at some point as a big Fallout fan. As soon as I saw...
I'm a big Fallout fan. I was definitely not a big fan of Fallout 76. Definitely not a big fan of Fallout 76. Will I go back to it? Probably not. Honestly, it's kind of too far gone. There's all things that I want to play now.
I just thought, like,
have you seen how November looks? After, like, we're only halfway through E3 and November looks mental, so I need to play a lot of things before then.
Just as soon as I saw human NPCs with dialogue trees,
well, that was it, man. That's what Fallout is. You know, that's what Bethesda RPGs were. You know, it's making decisions, living with those decisions, and it's important. It's a really important part of it. And for them just to strip the game of that and yet still call it a Fallout game was a fucking joke, quite frankly. Anyway, moving on. Ghostwire Tokyo, a new game from the folks at Tango Gameworks, previously who made the Evil Within games, which you played them, right?
I didn't play them, though. I was super interested in Evil Within 1, and I bottled it, and then I heard so many good things about Evil Within 2. I did think if they're going cheap, I might pick them up before this comes out.
Oh yeah, so apparently this is going to be less survival horror this time and more paranormal. You can be a paranormal survival horror, so I didn't really get that so much, but they were Japanese people trying to speak in English, so
yeah, and they made a good fist of it.
What was the woman's name? Something Nakamura?
Ikumi Nakamura.
She was brilliant. Yeah. She was like the most Japanese person I think ever, but she was awesome. She was really cool. They played a really visually beautiful looking trailer, I thought, like absolutely visually stunning.
The best noodles I've ever seen in a video game. And that sold it for me right off the bat.
It looked pretty creepy, I've got to say, and yeah, pretty damn interesting.
Alongside 12 Minutes, this for me again is the most kind of interesting, exciting thing, particularly of the stuff that we hadn't seen before. They hit all the right notes for me. They mentioned paranormal, the occult, they mentioned conspiracies, and it's an action adventure game by the looks of things, at least. So, and with like you say, I mean, the trailer really is up there with really high end AAA.
It's stunning, stunning, graphically, absolutely amazing. I mean, it's a trailer, so take that with a pinch of salt, you know what I mean? But wow, really visually amazing. I've got to say it was one of my biggest surprises so far. But yeah, that really good, really excited for it. Another game that I'm really excited for. The segues just keep coming, Liz. Wolfenstein Youngblood, coming July the 26th. This is the game where you play as BJ Blazkowicz from the previous games' two daughters, and it's set 20 years after the New Colossus, which was the last game, and you're currently on a mission to save BJ from, what was it, Nazi-occupied France?
Paris, particularly,
yeah. Okay, there you go. It looks absolutely great.
It looks incredible. It looks
absolutely great. The co-op thing as well, the fact that we can play it co-op, and by the way, we should totally play the game co-op.
Definitely.
You can play the whole game co-op, is just awesome, and I think more games should be doing stuff like that. I just hope it's a kind of interesting co-op, like maybe you're both doing kind of different things throughout the game. I think machine games are clever enough to do something like that, and it not just be a kind of bread and butter split screen shooter, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
But it looks so fun. It's just such fun.
They managed to, within that trailer, they kind of infused it with like a really interesting like kind of 80s vibe as well, which is when the game is meant to be
absolutely set. Well, it's kind of like these other ones, like it gives you off, like, although it's mechanical dogs and things like that, like it looks like old clunky technology, you know what I mean? It looks like something that might have been created in the 60s, you know? So the fact that this one feels very much like something that could have been created in the 80s is so cool. It's great. The aesthetic is amazing.
Both those games, like with the New Colossus and then this, like they just play with their setting so well. They infuse it with so many nice little touches. It just looks so interesting and so fun. More of the same, basically, which will be great.
I mean, it kind of is more of the same, but it's also more interesting as well. Like I noticed that the girls wear what are they called? The suits, basically, from the previous games, which makes them, I think, more agile and things like that. So I think you might have things like double jump, which is awesome. Like it's just although mechanics of shooting might be very, very similar. Like the fact that you can traverse and hide and not maybe have to use cover and can kind of move about much more quickly.
Yeah.
Is exciting. Do you know what I mean? It's an exciting way to play a familiar thing.
I think that when you were saying there about co-op being more interesting, like those contraptions from the new Colossus, which made BJ be able to shrink or grow really tall or move really quickly or batter and ram through things and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It seems to me like that's exactly how the co-op mode will kind of play out, where you each have different kind of techniques like that. So some people can do more stealthy stuff and some people can be more like ram raidy. And that all loops in with another kind of aspect, which I'm sure we'll come on to more in a little bit, but it's the involvement of Arcane in the development of this game. So Arcane are the studio behind, or the developers behind the amazing Dishonored series, and they are known for their total belief in just giving players so many options to get through scenarios. And so the combination of Wolfenstein and Machine Games' kind of style and particularly their gunplay and its fast-paced action with that kind of level of like tactical intrigue from Arcane, I think is going to make this a fucking absolutely dynamo game.
I must admit, I am really, really excited for it. I mean, having played all of the since the reboot, and then I even played the Old Blood and all that as well. Man, it was they're really great games. I find them really, really fun. It's just a good fun shooter. It's great. And speaking of Arcane Studios, Deathloop, a new IP from them, which I thought looked really, really interesting. So, as Liz said, of Dishonored fame, which means you can trust them, basically. Yeah. But this game gave me like really Tarantino vibes. It gave me a kind of like pulpy look. You know, I thought it all looked great. You seem to play as dual protagonists on different sides of.
Yeah, they're enemies by the sounds of things.
They are enemies, but you play as both of them. And it seems to work on a like similarly to 12 Minutes, on a kind of Groundhog Day-esque thing that you when you die within the game, like you respawn and is acknowledged that you have respawned. Yeah. It's all kind of set in some mythical island that one of the protagonists is describing as a prison and the other one is describing as like a haven. And I don't really know what it was about it, but it looked great. I was very excited. I was just watching it going, wow, this is really interesting. This is a really interesting premise. It's by a studio that you trust. All aboard. Yeah. Totally all aboard. This feels a wee bit like Control last year.
Yep, exactly.
Remedy's Control game last year, where I was like, this looks like a really, really interesting concept. It's going to get totally overblown by things like Cyberpunk and Halo, and like it's going to be at the bottom of the pile. I bet when this game rolls around, it's going to be great. Yeah. And I feel very similar about Control.
It feels like the one to watch. Yeah, absolutely. I hadn't thought about it in those terms of like Tarantino or kind of that kind of pulp
just aesthetically
vibe. But yeah, just like that was one of the first things I kind of took note of when I was watching it, was just like how classy it looks. It just looks like a really interesting game world. So
it looked really good, really, really good. And Bethesda finished off with Doom Eternal. Now, historically, I've not been a big Doom player. Like, I've not even played 2016. Doom 2016 looked great. I always kind of thought, maybe I'll play that at some point. Kind of never got around to it. Doom Eternal looks absolutely fucking brilliant. It really does. And you say that Wolfenstein is like fast-paced and loads of guns and loads of options and things like that. And Doom just looks like that on crack plus speed on acid. It looks insane. And it looks so much fun. Again, it just looks so fun.
It's unashamedly...
seriously, go and watch the trailer. It looks fantastic.
It just feels to me like unashamedly a video game. Like you see him picking up
the most video game I've ever seen.
Health packs, flying about. It was a wild series. So they showed us a bit of a kind of trailer and then a more condensed kind of gameplay section.
Yeah.
So we got
it was that gameplay section. Go and look that up. Seriously, it was superb. Whoever was playing that at that point, they were great.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's hard to watch at times. There's so much happening on the screen.
It is chaotic on a different level. Yeah. It is amazing. I'm definitely going to play it. I'm definitely going to play 2016 before it comes out. And it comes out on November the 22nd. And yeah, I just thought it looked superb. Absolutely superb. I'm definitely going to play it.
Good stuff. So we're going to see more of Doom Eternal in the next few months, because it's coming to QuakeCon. In fact, by the sounds of things, it's actually just replacing QuakeCon this year with DoomCon.
Because it's the 25th anniversary of the original Doom. Is that right?
I'm not sure. Yeah,
the 30th anniversary or something like that. That's why they're doing it. That's why there's a big Doom focus at QuakeCon, basically.
And that's also where we'll see. Well, they kind of talked a little bit more about this new multiplayer mode called Battle Mode, which is like an asymmetric 2v1 where two players play as demons and one player plays as a fully skilled up demon slayer. And so it's kind of about the skill of the demon slayer versus the strategy of the demons.
I thought that looked really interesting as well. So it means that if I was just here by myself, then I could just go in and play against, or be on a team with a rando, I guess. But you could just go in and be the Doomslayer and play against two. What were they? They just called monsters.
Just demons.
Just demons. Yeah. But then if you were here, then we could jump on and the same thing, like couch co-op, and just play this more strategic, or as they were claiming, it was a more strategic co-op mode to try and outdo the Doomslayer's skill. That was kind of how they were spinning it. I thought it looked really interesting. Really interesting.
I mean, that kind of asymmetric thing is just growing and growing. Started a good few years ago, certainly on consoles in this generation with Evolve, which never really went anywhere. But if they can pull this off, this idea that you can actually play on either half of that divide and play quite differently, and so you could get really good at being a demon and doing more kind of battlefield control kind of stuff, or you can be just a mad gunslinger and come in and kill everyone as the Demon Slayer. I think it looks really fun. So I'm exactly the same. I've never played much Doom before. Doom 2016 just was still in my face of like having no interest in first-person shooters particularly, but that arcadey style that Wolfenstein reintroduced to me, and having watched that last night as part of Bethesda's conference, just made me think this is worth diving into.
Definitely. Like, I'm definitely going to buy it. Like, it's not even in question anymore. I'm definitely going to buy it. It just looks superb. It looks absolutely superb. I just wanted to give one shout out before we finish up here to Devolver Digital and their absolute nonsense. They're great. They're just great fun. Their conference is crazy. They only announced a few things. I think the Messenger DLC that we knew about. And that was another thing that was My Friend Pedro as well, which we also knew about, which is kind of cool.
There was 6 things in total, just really quickly. So there was My Friend Pedro, which is coming to Switch and PC June 20th. The Messenger, which is July 11th, again to all those platforms. But they announced a crazy Into the Gungeon arcade cabinet, a new game called Carrion, which we didn't really see much of, a sort of interesting what looks like a battle royale called Fall Guys, but then this thing called Devolver Bootleg, and I'm just going to leave it at that. Go and look up what this Devolver Bootleg thing is, guys, if you haven't seen it. I was so confused watching it that I wasn't sure if it was all a joke, but it looks very much like an 8-in-1 game on Steam that they're putting out, where it's all sort of fakes and rip-offs of their own games. So they have something called Enter the Gun Dungeon, and they have something else called Hotline Milwaukee.
Oh my god, that is...
So go and check it out. I don't know if it's real or not.
I absolutely love them. They're so good. They're absolutely brilliant. I really do. I absolutely love them. Also, the other thing I just wanted to give a shout out to was the Pokemon Sword and Shield Direct that happened previously to E3, even before Stadia, but definitely not part of E3, whereas Stadia was kind of definitely part of E3. I am very excited about that game, but I think we'll probably see more of it at Nintendo, so we'll just kind of cover it there, I think. And you can join us again tomorrow, where we will be covering not only Nintendo, but Ubisoft, Square Enix, and the Kinda Funny Games Showcase to finish off our 2-part E3 launch special extravaganza. Please remember to follow us on all the social media at PlayersToo. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, the lot. We're all there at PlayersToo. You can go and find our written content over at playerstoo.com. Please remember to give us 5 stars on iTunes as well. It really does take 5 seconds and it helps us out so much. 5 seconds, 5 stars. Hashtag 5 seconds, 5 stars. I want to start it right now. That would be amazing. Any help you can give us. Obviously, we're just launching this. We're very excited about it. And yeah, I would love it if you could continue to join us, I guess.
Thanks very much, guys.
Yeah, see you later.